Our panelists today who are going to be joining us on stage, they have a plethora of experience between them in handling and managing conflicts effectively, executing weddings of hallmark grandiose and scale with an effervescent passion and unforgettable creativity. And please put it up for your stalwart panelists who are going to be joining us on stage. Amidst your actors, round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dhruva Kumar, HP, Director, Wedding Mansion and Company. Mr. Arun Raj, Vice President, Operations, Kaldan, Samudhra. Up the tempo of your ladies and gentlemen. And Mr. Mushtaq Ali, Founder Celebration. Give it up to him as well. Welcome to the panelists. Namaskara, Higindira. Now that's one scene remaining. Well, pretty evident it's for a moderator. And to dive deep into the topic, we have a moderator who has profound subject knowledge of disaster management thanks to his decade and a half plus years of experience in the field of events and wedding planning. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite on stage the moderator for this session. Amidst your thundering round of applause, give it up for Mr. Karan Soorma, the co-founder of Cineyug Celebrations. Give it up for them, please.
Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it.
Over to you, Karan. The topic is, how can we manage disastrous events, deliver on expectations, and keep everyone happy? Over to you, Karan.
A lot, an artist who's holed up in his suite, not willing to perform because he wants a room that the family is in. So we see all kinds of disasters every day, and I think it's relatable. We've all personally dealt with it. So let's get down to the formal discussion that we're having. The formal topic is, how can we manage disastrous events, deliver on expectations, and keep everyone happy? Quite intense. So Mushtaq, tell me, how do we keep a family happy?
Keep feeding them. On a serious note, you see, you can't keep everybody happy. You will always come across a mama or a pupa who will say, you know, we could have managed it much more better. So we have to draw a line. We have to respect that, and we have to draw a line. And you know, when it gets irrelevant, then we have to ignore it. Communication at every point between the team and the guest is very, very important. Secondly, budgets. That's the key to any successful wedding. You are required to figure out resources, associates who can fit into the budget and give the best experience that a guest is looking at.
Now, those are some profound insights. I think all of us need to inscribe that. So we've all encountered this, and it's very relatable. But let's, try to use the session to get some differentiated opinions. People speaking from their experiences and how we could incorporate some of these learnings in our lives as well. Which brings me to a common, quote in the industry. I mean, we've heard it, I'm tired of hearing it, but event managers are crisis managers and wedding planners are crisis managers. I mean, we've all heard that a lot. What is your take on that? I mean, is it a fair opinion? What do you say, Arun?
For me, I think nowadays wedding planners are not reactive, they are proactive. They meticulously look into every smallest detail. Once upon a time in Tamil, we used to have a proverb called Vida Katipar, Kalyana Panipar. That means you build a house and see how difficult it is, and to do a marriage and see how difficult it is. These are two achievements for men in life. But now they are given the responsibility to the wedding planners as such. Start from the engagement time till the wedding time, till the time they go for the honeymoon, everything is planned well. Each and every second has been planned very well by them, so that they don't have, the family doesn't have to take anything extra. So they are very proactive, when the flower shower has to happen, when what kind of photograph has to happen, every second is very much calculated. They are more like a conductors of a symphony. A symphony has many musicians playing it. But when you see a planner, they plan everything when a button has to be pressed harder, when it has to be slowed down. So they plan it very well. So I don't think they are a crisis management people. But it's not that they do not handle crisis well. Even if planned so well, there might be some kind of crisis which could happen, and they also handle it very well.
Okay, so I think planning is critical. I mean, to be in tune with, like you said, be a conductor and ensure that every part is moving simultaneously. But Dhruva, tell me, what is it when there is a crisis? How do you react?
Actually, earlier before COVID, we were only called as event managers or wedding planners. After COVID, we also realized that we are not only wedding planners. We are like Supermans, like so many things. Because people used to call us and tell, we want to do 3,000 wedding, 5,000 wedding, because they having only one daughter. In the whole life, what they have spent, they have to earn, they have to spend in that this thing. And lots of challenges were there. And in COVID-1 also, we did only 25 people wedding. That time, they asked each and every small things to us only. All the responsibility was given to us. So whatever the government thinks, this is there. That time also we handled the situations. That time we learned little bit better. Then again coming to COVID-2. COVID-2 was that November was like too crucial. All the postponed weddings were stacked, as well as the new weddings were already lined up. And that time also it was like a very big crisis itself. So that we planned all the things because of the venue, and moreover, the whole weather has changed actually now. As a wedding planner, whenever we go, first we'll see the direction, which is the north, which is the east. Because people want that vastu and all those things. So immediately first we see. Second is what is the weather forecast. Whether next 7 days, whether it's going to rain or not. That's the basic thing. Usually as a wedding planner, we see budgets and all is later. But we have taken commitment, then this is the promise we are going to deliver. So in that case, actually now, especially Bangalore weather, is usually non-rainy season was from January till May, and where open weddings were happening. And from June till December were the rainy season, or the closed weddings were. Now this year, March 20th itself, it was the biggest rain shower, and it was the biggest day all over Canada. So many weddings were happening, and there was no plan B. That's where there's so many crises. If you're really experienced, if you see all these aspects and all those things, definitely we should able to manage those things, and we should guide the client properly, and to take up the crisis in a challenged way, and to make it successful, not to give up this thing.
I think if there's one thing we've learned today from this is that apart from crisis management, that global warming is real. We're all facing it in what we do. I mean, there's unseasonal rainfall happening all over the country. So I mean, that's something we have to be prepared for in total. But I think one of the key takeaways is that we should not just look at it as crisis management, but as you guys have mentioned, it's more risk management. It's sort of preparing a client, making him understand what he's going in for, whether it's with weather or various other aspects, building the expectation, setting the expectation right, and building in those plan B's right at the beginning rather than scurrying it at the end. Which actually brings me to I'm very keen to know, because you shared a little bit of insight in your experience. I mean, I'm going to throw this to the entire panel. What is the one disaster really that you guys have encountered? How have you dealt with it operationally, and how have you communicated this to the clients themselves? What is the preferred route? If you could illustrate an example from your own experience. So we'll start with Mushtaq. Let's hear from you.
See, we come across these situations time and again, and we need to look at it positively and find a solution to it, because I and my team feel that is one day in the lifetime of a person which cannot go wrong under any circumstances. So it's before the COVID. This was a wedding of around 450, 500 odd people at Fairmont. Everything was ready, looked like a hunky-dory musical in real life. The first guest arrives at the airport, they are, put into the vehicles and they leave. And then suddenly we get to hear that there is a transport strike. I mean, it's just happened out of nowhere. And cars are not allowed to travel, buses are at the station, the client is, frantic. and we needed to find a solution. We had the logistic partner, we had the hotel, we had some friends in our planning fraternity who helped us out in making sure that the last guest arrived without any hassle, because it is almost a 45-minute drive through the city. And throughout this, one thing which we realized and which I would suggest, that one needs to be cool, one cannot be edgy, and because you are cool and you are calm, the client, it precipitates to the client, and he knows that we will find a solution to it.
So what did you tell the client in that case?
I told him that this is something which has happened, and he was also aware of it, and we told him, okay, so this is what is happening, and this is how we are tackling it. You have to be a little patient. You cannot become edgy, and give us a time, and we will make sure that each and every guest of yours is safe and is brought back to the hotel, and they can enjoy the experience that you have planned out for them.
Okay, fantastic. I think that's a great lesson for all of us. Arun, what about you? What's an experience you'd like to share?
I think COVID weddings everyone has seen. I think you also explained like how COVID happened. So when COVID happened, we have done like many weddings, like bio-bubble weddings, or through weddings through internet and all that. But weddings are something like which are very emotional for people. It's not just tying the knots with two people. It's just very emotional. So they say that love is blind and wedding is an eye-opener. So we stand in between that. So we stand in between that. As we have for a wedding, it's not only the hotels or the planners. So it's a combination of everyone working together. So we had a wedding recently, which was like a dream, an impossible. Wedding is always an impossible dream dreamt by the couples, and they want to make it happen, and that's why we're all there. And this was like the girl wanted to have some special musician to come and play. I don't want to name the musician, but it was a dream to have him play in the wedding. But unfortunately, due to some budget constraints or some constraints, they could not get him. So the event planner suggested somebody else, and unfortunately, just a day before, that guy could not come. Something happened to him and he could not come. So she was very upset. And the event planner came to us and said that, see, this is what happened, and we tried to convince the guest, and the guest is not able to get convinced because we gave him option 1, they were not able to get it, so we gave the option 2, with the players not coming. So then we had a quick round of meeting within our team with the wedding planners and hotel as us and our chairman and CEO. We discussed that one, and we tried to call the person who they actually wanted, and it was a surprise for them that we brought him, we flew him in Chennai, and we made them play. So it was a pride for them, like whatever we dreamt of, even the impossible dream, could be made happen. So those are some of the situations which, if we could plan it well, or if we could talk to each other very well, this could be possible.
So I think like the key lesson here is communication in these situations is critical. To turn a disaster in a way into an opportunity, or or to leverage on a tricky situation. I think that's something we all need to be really alert about, and bring about, to bring that delight to our clients.
Even the COVID time, when we said like we did an internet wedding, disaster doesn't happen like once. It always happens like continuously. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop with one. So what happened was like this wedding was supposed to be happening in a big way. You know how Indian weddings happens like in a bigger way, and especially in South, in Chennai, when we do these weddings, it's very big. So, but unfortunately, COVID stuck in, and the bride is still in US, and they were not able to fly down. So we have to do internet wedding, and unfortunately, internet was down. So the wedding was like about to happen, the internet was down, so this also could not happen. And then we have to connect to the 4G network and all that. So it happened in a way that, but both the clients were very happy. After the COVID was over, they flew down from US. They said that we want to do the wedding again with the plan what we had. So they did the wedding with us again, and they were very, very happy. So wow. That opportunity once, if it's made right, they will be a regular people.
Excellent. I mean that is a very valid point. You when you're there for your clients, I mean they stick by you. I think that's the key. So Dhruva, what about you? I think you have a very interesting experience. We were discussing it, and I'm dying to hear more about it.
Actually, disastrous event, I did not face anything in COVID time actually. It was when Modi ji came on November 8th evening, midnight 2016, that after 500 or 1000 note band ho jayega. Next day was my biggest event, that is Janardhan Reddy, which was the biggest news all over India. That wedding was happening on the 12th of November. And that was the 8th, and 9th day was the first day, next day event was there. And yesterday, that 8th, I was in Ballari, and people told that all the notes are done, and it's really, it is a bigger budget. And people told it's 500 crore, it's not 500 crore, it's 1/10 of the budget actually. But still we were 4 vendors. And actually I want to tell what was the disaster and how really from day one with some auditors and all, how it supported at that time. When it came to the morning, 9th morning, I met the general sir, asked what is that, no, Modi ji ka aise rahega, but aap chinta mat karo. बोल के शाम पे बड़ा एडवांस मिल गया था, same. But next day whenever we are meeting any vendor, they are telling no, we won't take any that old notes or whatever it is, and it became too serious that the event was 3 days only, and all 2000 rupees notes, only one note was coming in the ATMs, and immediately only my mind went to meet my auditor first. I met my auditor. I don't know, from the beginning, when we start business, we have to meet auditors, and tax paying is so much helpful when you come into this type of crisis. I met auditor. Somehow he always forcing me to pay tax. That was service tax was there. He made me to pay service tax and all those things, banking thing. I was not so good at that time, but still he managed to do all those things. That time immediately he fetched some OD of some bigger amount immediately within next day. That helped me to come out of this biggest disaster time, and really it was so helpful. I always thank him, and that was one phase. Somehow we did event with it, all the money flow and all those things happened. Next, after 4 days, IT people were there in our office, house, every places. After 4 days, because of the bigger news. So we are 4 vendors actually, and all the places, and is Mr. Sarvanan, IAS officer, IPS, IRS officer. He was the biggest, more strict, everybody speaks. He came to our office, house, everywhere people were there, 7 o'clock only. And luckily, since auditor was involved in the bigger wedding, all our bigger wedding studio also, auditors are involved. Because to manage the process, so many vendors, and how to pay, what are the systems, like how to take the quotation, how to take the invoices, after the event, how the whole process has to be managed, auditors has to be involved actually in the bigger wedding, so that we are always safe. Till today we are doing this month also, since auditors are involved, because it doesn't want to speak, because cash part is involved in the weddings, so auditors can be a best judge to help you in all the things, we should be supporting all the time. Then when our income tax people came to our office and all, since our auditors told us very clearly, if something going to happen, only this much are the things you have to tell, you have to speak and all those things. We really, within 1 week, all of us came out of this bigger wedding disaster thing, that income tax rate, and lots of things we came out of thing, and client was happy, payment came, everything was happy. That's what I just remembered Modi ji, that's why.
I think you'll have a line of people coming to you for some personal advice after this on how to manage finances. I heard, but this is so relatable. I mean, we've all learned so much from that experience. I heard someone laughing very loudly in the audience as well. So we'd love to hear from you in the Q&A about your experience with the same situation. So actually, I wanted to move on and just ask this question. So, a lot of us are planners here. And there's a lot of people who are also associated with weddings. I mean, we've got hotels, we've got partners, we've got a lot of people. So, as a planner, I wanted to know, Mushtaq, do you, when a situation like this arises and it involves, people beyond yourself, the situation is larger than just what you can handle, do you, as a planner, take the onus of, making this communication with the client on your own, or do you involve the other people who are associated with the event to communicate? So how does that conversation happen?
See, it is, most of the times that in the last 6-7 years, we've always seen that it's the couple who takes the center stage. I always tell parents that, you are relegated to only signing checks. Everything is decided by them, right from the destination, the kind of food, the kind of decor, everything is done by them. So if there is a crisis or if there is something happening, we always believe in doing it on a one-to-one basis. We believe in approaching them and telling them that this is an issue, and of course giving them a solution. So that is how we function. Since around 60% of what we do is on a turnkey basis. So if there is something to do with events or if it's something to do with the decor, it's like one person responsible for the same. And we always prefer a direct approach, and it's always worked out for us.
Okay, that's definitely one way to look at it, because you handle so much of the project on your own. I mean, really the accountability stops at you and you take the onus to have that talk. Arun, do you have a different perspective on this?
Yeah, because you see, I'm from a hotel. I'm from a resort in Mahabharata. So we have seen people going to the wedding planners first, decide on what they have to do, and then the wedding planners suggest the resorts and all that. But our property is one such in Mahabharata, like people would like to fall in love with it and do weddings there. So that most of the times people come to our resort, choose the area, and then choose the wedding planners. So I believe like it should be a hand-in-glove situation. Like we give the conductor position to the wedding planner. Even after they choose the hotel, we give the position to them. So they coordinate between the guests, they coordinate between the event managers, the florists, the decorators, everyone. But it has to be mutual understanding. It has to be like working together. Even there is a situation of crisis to handle, or even there is a situation what the client wanted. It is always the hotel has a role to play along with the event planners, and we are very happy to work with the event planners who has done with us till now. They also feel very happy, so that we work together.
So there's, I mean, that's great to hear, because there's two different points of view from two different parts of the process. So one is with the planners, taking that responsibility. The others, obviously the hotels coming and saying, hey, we would like to pitch in a situation like this. So I mean, there are different approaches to actually address the same situation, and it really depends on you and the client as to which one you would like to take.
There are so many weddings we have seen, like many weddings now from 2000. There are weddings which is done by big planners. There are weddings done by like mid-scale planners. There are some weddings who are like still done by the uncles and aunts of the house. There is a difference between how the weddings happens when you involve a planner into it, and there are situations where the hotel takes the complete responsibility of getting things done for the family when there is no wedding planners involved. So we play both the sides of the thing, so we understand how important it is.
So Mushtaq mentioned something very interesting. You mentioned that you deal with the couples and the sort of more understanding and with it. Let me throw to the other panelists. What do you find it, whom do you find it easier to communicate with? I mean, is it the parents? Is it the kids? Is it someone else? Who is the easier person in the family to, discuss a crisis situation with?
I believe parents are easy.
Really?
Because all the bigger weddings, what are the bigger weddings, like more than 5,000, scale-wise if you think, because brides and groom will be having very less knowledge. How people will come, because parents will be knowing 5,000, 8,000, 20,000, 60,000, 40,000 we are doing in October. 40,000 crore for Kali MLA. In that 100 acres they have land, but they are given 14 acres. Like that, in that scale, so really this bride and groom will be having very less knowledge. So definitely bride and groom interaction also will be very less. Sometimes bride and groom names will not be known to me so many times. At the last, when bride and groom name has to be printed, that time only things will come to us. Right? And even in Paris. So parents are so easy because they are the one real dreamers. Kids in bride and groom comes later according to me. So bride and if we really speak to father and mother properly, how really are going to do, how really executing the final result. Wedding planning is not only do the decor and come up. It has to be like decorators do the work by 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock reception is going, you are away from the venue. It's not the way. Like we should be there till 12 o'clock till the last food is happening of the family. So that you are taken care when the VIPs are coming, you are taken care you are like a family member. That's the responsibility they give to us. So there is no wedding planning thing here actually. So that's why I believe in that way I'm handling parents very well. And coming to brides and grooms, so some cases, since it's a bigger weddings and they're rich also, what will happen? Bride wants to do their bachelorette. They can't speak to us directly. They think I'm not cool. I say because they think
I think you're very cool.
serious person. So when it comes to that, sometimes they tell their friends to call us, and their friend will tell, we want this one photo will come. Then we realize, okay, she's understanding this level. So many bachelorettes, one of the craziest bachelor parties we had done, and then the bride and groom realized that we are cool.
So 3 lessons. Lesson 1, parents are more experienced when it comes to larger weddings, so deal with them. Lesson 2, when you're dealing with a bachelor party, talk to the friend. And lesson 3, the Dhruva knows where the money is, so you might as well talk to them, let's not waste time with the couple.
In good old times, the parents used to dream, like my son or my daughter has to be getting married this way and it has to be like this big. And now with the social and all the planners getting involved and there's a lot of social media, the bride and the groom plans their wedding like this is how I wanted the weddings. Most of the times, like this is the way I want to do my wedding and this is how my wedding has to happen. But still in India or South India, I would say that they are still not very comfortable or happy to go and talk to their parents like I want my wedding this way, I want to be dressed up this way. So they always have somebody in their family like their uncles or their aunts or their friends or the closest relative in their family where the parents also could not sometimes refuse their request. So they go approach them and tell them like, uncle, no, we want to do a wedding this way. If I go and tell my father he's not going to accept it, you better tell me. So we find that middleman in between the couples and the parents. So we kind of interact with them, that's better easy. There are sometimes the bride and the groom friends who come and tell us like, in the hotel we want to do something like this because they want to do this one, but the parents doesn't want to do that. So before, a day before or after the night, after the wedding is over, they want to do some kind of special party like you said, like bachelor's party and all that, which they are comfortable talking to us with the middleman in between. Right. And the couples are like nowadays very open to come and talk and tell us like, this is what is my dream, but don't tell my parents and they won't be accepting it, but your payments are going to come so.
Wow, it's really, it just gets more and more complicated, right? Bride, groom, parents, mama, chacha, friends, everybody. I mean, they say right in India, you get married to the family, not to just one person. So, I mean, without wasting any more time, I want, and because we've got some opinions from the audience also, so I want to ask this question. We're talking about stress-free weddings, right? We're talking about how do you do it in a most cool, calm, collected way and, manage situations. I want to know from each one of you one trick or one mantra that you can share with us, just one thing, as to how do you manage to execute a wedding stress-free? Let's start with Mushtaq.
I've always believed that the first impression is the best. So if I classify this question into 2 parts, one is planning and the other is the aesthetic part. The answer is the same. If you're when the guests are arriving, if the logistics and the hospitality, your check-ins are in time, it's taken care of without a lot of wait, then it's an absolute smooth kind of a celebration. Nobody comes and asks you any questions because all concerns are how are the people, what time are the people going to land up at the property and how soon will the rooms be handed over to them. And the same thing follows in terms of decor. Your first function is done perfectly. Of course, all the other functions also have to follow that way. Then the questions start ceasing and people, the family and the couple are under the impression or belief that everything is going to be taken care of and everything is fine, and so there's no questions asked, nothing that you have to answer, and it moves on seamlessly provided you follow all the guidelines.
So I think that's an important takeaway, getting off to a good start. I mean, it's true for weddings, it's true for cricket, it's true in life, right? Just like start well, manage those first 6-7 overs in a T20 game and you sort of find your rhythm and go through. But, having a disaster right at the outset is something that can really derail the process. And also I think, the families also starts getting those doubts in and, they start questioning everything after that. So I think, like you mentioned, it's a very valid point, very valuable point. take a lot of care into making sure the start is right, and then I think things flow from there. What about you, Arun? What is your perspective on this? What is your mantra?
Like I said, love is blind and wedding is an eye-opener. So you are falling in between the dream stage. And most of us nowadays dream the impossible dream. And when you want to make the impossible dream, you need to promise what is possible and deliver something more than that. They'll be happy. But if you promise something which is like, again, not possible for the sake of getting the business, and then finally go and crisis manage, it's becoming a difficult situation. So I would say, like, promise whatever you can under the sun, and then deliver something more, they'll be always happy.
So you mentioned twice that love is blind and weddings and eye-opener. I'm married 10 years, I'm a little worried for myself. But yeah, okay, so promise realistically. I don't think under-promise is what we want to do anymore. Promise realistically and try to over-deliver on that. Manage expectations. I think that is critical. I think not only in weddings but in every aspect of life. Just manage the expectations well and then you move smoothly. What about you, Dhruva?
Stress-free wedding.
You're cool. So I mean, you're like cool as a cucumber on side.
So I take 3 people as inspiration.
Right.
One is South Indian superstar Rajinikanth sir. Because of his humbleness, the way he approached to people down to earth, that's always, I think, Rajinikanth sir is the most example for that. So always we want to be humble, we want to be down to earth, no ego with the clients. That's the first policy I really want to make with the clients. Second, coming to leadership, like MS Dhoni is the best leadership quality with a cool mind, whatever circumstances, and still he won all the trophies and all those things. So MS Dhoni, how he handles the situation of the either wedding or the cricket field, like how in front of the client we are showing we are the person who are making it, shouting on our staff, and that should never happen. So that should never happen. You should not show any stress on the client. Whenever they see smiles. Whenever you go to any hotel, they keep smiling. Oh, good morning. Like that only you should be with the client, so that they feel, oh, everything is happening. Like that only client should feel. You should not make any stress out in front of them and all those things, especially in the labor, whatever it is. And coming to last person is Jack Ma. We are doing business. Anyway, all these things are like this thing. We are doing business. Jack Ma is my great inspiration. Every day, at least 30 minutes, I listen to him, same thing. How to build a business, how to make money, how to make customers happy. That's more important. Otherwise, just doing wedding planning business for part-time is not useful.
Wow, those are some like very big, large shoes to follow. And even now, even on stage, I mean, you've got this, you're exuding this calmness and it's very inspirational. But I think it's been very interesting. I think what we've got and what we've tried to do through this is obviously we work, in our own individual styles. But like I said in the beginning, it's really important to just speak to each other, to communicate, to understand, what are the different positions that other people have been in, and just to get some perspective on how you could do certain things differently when you go about planning someone's wedding, because it is such an important part of their lives, and we don't want things to go wrong at all to anybody. So thank you so much to the panel. I mean, it's been great chatting with you, and we'd like to throw the floor open for questions. And I would like to begin with that lady who had an opinion on demonetization. I'm very, very keen to hear. No?
I'm going to ask this question. So this is a situation that I was in, say 6 years back. And sitting at OT, and we had some 7-8 trucks coming from Bangalore to do a destination wedding in OT. We are doing the mehendi at say 2 o'clock, and the mehendi just gets over, and I just go to see the situation of how the Sangeet is going on. No one is informed, like a lot of trucks have come and stuff like that. No one has informed us that there is no LED that has come from Bangalore to OT. And it's a Sunday evening that the Sangeet is supposed to happen, and there is no truss and LED that has been loaded into the trucks from the production house. How would you deal with the situation of this sort? I mean, it's disastrous, but I would just like to know an opinion as to what you would do. And you just like say 4 hours away from Sangeet, it's Sunday, you're trying to find vendors, and how could you deal with the situation?
So you had hired the vendor, or did the client hire the vendor?
We hired.
Okay, so you have a setup and you've obviously committed an LED and some cussing, and you find out from your vendor that it didn't get onto the truck. So you're in the situation, it's your vendor, you've got a client in front of you waiting to see his pictures on that LED that evening, and it's not coming. What do you say to him?
See, normally I'll just tell you about my experience. Everybody out here will have a different perspective to it. Normally when we do a wedding or we manage a wedding, we tell our clients 24 hours in advance, you can see everything the night before. Okay? The reason for this is, last minute, since if you're doing a destination like you have done, last minute adjustment is absolutely impossible. And if we are looking at Ooty, it's even more difficult. Traveling from Bangalore to Ooty, that is also a time that will come into play. My advice to you is, what has happened, you can't do anything about it. But in future, every time you do, when you are doing your light check, when you are doing your setup check, make sure that it happens the night before. And if such a situation happens, then you still have the whole day to move and make things happen. Because the situation you are in at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock is like an impossible situation. No matter how much you do, it's very difficult. That's my advice to you, and that's how we also run our events.
So that's, I mean, a great thing to keep in mind whenever you're planning a wedding. But Dhruva, what would you tell the client? Suppose I'm the client. What would you tell me? Where's my LED?
Always I tell clients also something. I'll give an example of something. Olympics happened in London. You know, actually, in that London event, what happened? 2 hours, the whole event was delayed because of the rain. Rain prediction or just showers of rain. The whole event was postponed. That time I really realized money can't get all the wedding planning needs actually. If the client give full money, because even electronics item, whatever it is, sometimes now it's switched off. Within no minutes, it may get switched off. What we can do in this situation now? Just we have to go with some situation. That we should make always with the client. Whenever you have a discussion with clients, you will tell some bad examples always. I also try to do.
It could have been worse. At least you have lights and some flowers. Just an LED.
So, always so many chats you'll be doing and something you should make clear that something may happen. We are not gods. Whatever it is happening, we are like your family. We stand. We'll make sure we are like your next son or the next daughter, making the event more successful with little money and all that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think we've officially run out of time. I got shown a red card over there. A lot of sports references happening on the stage.
Of course, we did the event. Everything went well. The Sunny did happen. But it was just a situation so people can actually understand how something can go so disastrous.
It does happen almost every day for all of us.
Alright, we would love to take a lot of questions, but thank you so much. That's all the time we have. And to sum it up informally, Dhruva School, give it up for that. If you fell in love many years ago and on your wedding day you realize that wedding is an eye-opener, you have to blame Arun for getting married. He wasn't there to warn you. And as Karan loves cricket, I'm certain, so Sunday mornings get on.
Yeah.
Yep, get all that right. So thank you so much, gentlemen, and Mushtaq, he knows where the money is. So cheers, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But before we all go, just one question to each and every one of you. We'd like to know that on the day of the events, right, when you are on site, how do you all start your day? Like, is there a ritual to just keep yourselves motivated? It should really help everybody over here.
I'm not carrying my because I use all the gadgets like iPad, 14 activities I will take next week only. But everything I write in one paper of 7 days.
Okay.
That paper is working, that is Japan style actually.
Okay.
Japanese believe in writing.
Okay.
Wedding planners never believe in these gadgets and all. Because we are so lazy in the morning to open and scroll it. At least if the paper is there, morning we'll see what is our schedule, what is our planning. Multiple things are there, like marketing is there, production is there, new purchases are there, and we have to see Instagram also. Like there you can and nobody, so many people keep posting. We should aware of all those things.
Do you meditate, or do you, like before you just get on, do you meditate?
7 minutes you should do mantras and come out. That's the power.
Your mantra, please, Arun.
I think just start the day with a good smile and a good coffee, that's all.
You need your coffees? I'm sure a lot of people would agree we need our coffees like before we get the event rolling. And Mushtaq, what's your take? What's your mantra?
Planning, reckoner, to tick mark and see that everything is in place. And this has to happen not on the day of the function, it has to happen regularly. So you keep on ticking, and ultimately there is nothing left on your plate.
Thank you so much. Last but not least, Mr. Moderator, the man moderator, Karan.
Thank you.
On the day of the events.
On the day, what do I do? Yeah. You know, I honestly feel just as a society in general where we're heading, I think we do not give enough importance to a good night's sleep. You know, we say sleeping less, 3 hours, 4 hours is the way to do it, and hustle. I think you need to be clear, you need to be focused. For that you need to have a fresh mind, 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep. Sleep well, wake up fresh. I mean, everything is on place.
Sleep well, meditate, get your coffees. All the very best for the upcoming events. Let's give it up for that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. I'd like you to just all to step forward for the picture, please.